What's going on, guys? Armand here. Welcome back to the Cracked Lens podcast. We finally have a name for the podcast.
We finally have a name.
Pretty exciting.
I'm so excited.
Speak it.
Yep. Here with Michael and Dan. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
So Michael, Neelas Photography, wedding photography guy, and Cobalt Studios here in Portland, Oregon, Portland's primary photo studio. And we have a guest, our first
guest.
Hi,
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Dan Ostergren. I photograph people,
And you're really, really, really good at it.
and he says I'm really, really good at
You
it.
are really, really good at it.
He's pretty good at
It's
it.
pretty damn
Can't
good.
confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really, really good at it.
So, okay, we got a name.
Got a name.
And-
We are also on Spotify now.
Mhm.
If you're not already listening on Spotify, you could also check us out on YouTube.
YouTube.
And Apple Podcasts. Also coming soon, probably within like the next week or two, maybe somewhere in there.
Mhm.
Whenever we decide to pay for it. Yeah. Okay. So I guess let's just get into it. Okay. So today's topic is photography even fun anymore?
Mhm.
And I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago. And what I mean by that is, like, of course, photography is like fun, but in the sense of, like, when we first started photography,
Mm.
it was just about like having fun, right? Like you picked it up as a hobby. It was fun. Like you didn't even think about the money part of it, right? And now, like watching you own the studio and like your whole existence revolves around money. And it's like, you're not buying lenses to like have fun.
Yeah.
Like none of it is like based around like just enjoyment or fun anymore. It's just about like I need to make money. So it went from like hobby to
Responsibility.
responsibility.
Can it be both?
It can be
It
both.
can be, but so I think it depends on the individual as well.
Yeah, like the intention isn't just to have fun anymore.
Everything has to be like justifiable.
Yeah.
And,
Everything has to also be like some kind of business decision too.
have like purpose beyond just playing around. Like I remember like even getting into drones for a little bit, or my attempt on drones, which I didn't stick with because it's too complicated to me. But I really wanted a drone for like years,
Yeah.
and I started jumping into real estate photography for a bit. And then when I started doing real estate photography is finally when I'm like, okay, finally I can justify using a drone. And so I saved up, and that was like my whole expense. Like I had a certain budget I could spend on like advancements and things, and I used that on the drone.
Mhm.
But I had to be able to justify it. Like I want to make my money back, right? But I remember when I began, I was like, wanting things just to play with. Not
Yeah.
it didn't like I'm not gonna make money from Milky Way shots, but I bought like a low aperture wide angle lens so I can go out and do Milky Way shots because it sounded fun. And I don't
Right.
do that anymore.
Yeah. Now it's like, if you tried to buy like a 24 1.4 or something, to go shoot the Milky Way, Rose would kill you.
Probably. Well, not even
Better
that.
guide people with.
I'd kill
24.
myself, dude. So I think my partner and I are equally as stressed about the responsibility because we have all these kids running around, and like the monthly overhead on everything is so high that I stress about money more
Yeah.
than most probably. But then because everything that we have to pay for monthly, I can't afford to like really
Yeah.
play like I used to. And hopefully that's the goal, is to get past that at some point. But
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of artists, especially that I know that are at like the more common level of professional artists, are always kind of strapped to get by. It's really hard to find work.
Mhm.
It's really hard to like make a dollar. And so we're, really counting them. And
Yeah. So it's like the further you get into it, the more you're just like, okay, this has to like make sense.
and the further you get into it, especially when you're doing all this client work, if you're in a position where you're starting to work for like higher end clients, now the expenses are higher too. Or if you need a new modifier, it's not some cheap piece anymore. Like when we got our parabolic pro photo, it was like, oh, the pro photo in the studio, the parabolic broke, and I went to get one, and it was $400.
It's not just the cost, it's the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to have it too.
Yeah, well, I have a whole list, for me at least, for between the photography services and the studio, where it's like, okay, here's some things I need to get, and then you literally have to choose like what what is priority? What do we need next? And it's like on that list is things like hard drives and fill out space, or like I want to build that RAID, or things that people have come into the studio asking for. But most people don't have to deal with the studio aspect, but photography alone, it's still same.
Yeah. So I have a friend of mine. He mainly does video, but he like also does photo.
Yeah.
And he's just using like the regular like Sony mirrorless cameras and stuff like that. But he always wants to buy gear, but then he's like, oh no, I can rent it. Like if my client needs it, right? Everything is based around like what your client wants. It's never like, oh, this is a hobby and, like a business thing. See, that's how I think. I'm like, for me, like photography is fun, but it's also like a business thing.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to like go and drop money on a ton of gear.
Yeah, you love to buy gear.
I love to buy gear because like it's my hobby too. Like I have fun doing it.
Yeah. So, okay, for someone who doesn't have like a solid budget then, but needs this new gear, is it more viable to have like your little base kit and then rent gear? I don't rent gear. What about you, Dan?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
it makes the higher end gear more accessible, but in my opinion, you don't need high end gear to create high end work. It's about
true.
vision. It's about what you learn and experience as you progress as a photographer or image maker. You don't need to buy a luxury lens, or anything like that.
You got the nifty 50 right on your camera right there.
Not a nifty 50. It's a 35 f2.
Oh, there we go, nifty 35.
Yeah, but it's not got the red ring. It's no L series. It's Canon lens, and it's like. But I see you coming here with your 5D Mark III and a little 35 millimeter lens and shoot way better than
Freaking killing it.
most people.
I try.
About provision. No, I won't talk you up too much or make you all anxious, but for real, like your work is so good. And you're not shooting with anything that when it costs less than $1,000 for the whole kit on Craigslist.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I've had a very expensive kit stolen, and it kind of forced me to start back to the basics. But honestly, it taught me you don't need a ton of money to create something beautiful. You don't need a ton of money to just get out there and make something and actually enjoy it too.
Yeah.
And part of that satisfaction of even doing it for work, is going and making something that you think is beautiful.
Yeah. So, okay. So you do portraits and you do it for hobby and you do it for work. How do you like draw the line between hobby and work? Is there a separation for you?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got what I love to photograph. Certain shoots that, I'll go out of my way to contact people and set stuff up just kind of for my own passion. And you've got to kind of feed your own passion and feed your soul. Make sure you're still enjoying it so you don't get burnt out on it. And there's always going to be some burnout.
Yeah.
But so long as you're making work that you love, so long as you're making time to make something that you love and not just for the money, it's something that can be really fulfilling for a very long time.
Can you tell us about maybe some times throughout? So, all right, first of all, how long have you been shooting?
I mean, the first time I ever did a portrait was in 2007.
And so when do you feel like, because obviously a lot of us have been shooting for so long, but what was the year or there, like roughly, that you feel like you jumped into it full time?
I would say like 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 9 years.
Yeah. So like 9 years. And so obviously like within 9 years, I'm assuming you've experienced like phases of burnout, right?
Yes and no. I mean, honestly, no. I really love it.
Nice.
I love it a lot. I'm going to do it until the day I can no longer pick up a camera and press a shutter. And when I can't do that, I'll be barking orders at other people how to do it. Telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Doing the directing. It's just, I get something out of it that really brings me joy and satisfaction. And I feel very lucky to be able to do that. Not a lot of people can say that.
And I think that's something that like for full-timers, especially like what we were saying earlier is like, Well, I was actually talking to James because he was here earlier, and I was telling him like to be a working artist at all. It's like a phrase in itself because like an artist with work is kind of a rarity these days. And so to do what you
It's
love,
not easy,
It's so not easy.
especially in the age of AI, kind of
oh man, yeah, we can
making things a little more difficult, giving us some competition. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of things that AI can do that we can also do with practical effects and
yeah.
just time and work.
And the people aspect too, and the connection that you make. And so that's with photographers, I think we're very fortunate. And we talked about this, of course, before with our AI chat, but
Watch episode 2.
episode 2. But like the human aspect and the human element will always like need to exist, especially with photographers. Like we have job security because like we do services or events, or we can connect with people and actually capture someone's image. Of course, other artists are not in a great place, but I feel like there is a lot of room for burnout too, because people are utilizing certain things to make content faster, like we talked about, or even making script faster so they can market harder or whatever that.
Or just the pressure to constantly be putting something out, being seen, and you kind of have to be always being on people's minds in order to book work.
It's always fun to shoot and create, right? But like I experience my burnout in the rest of it, the other 95% of what it is, the marketing, the having to, deal with everyone, emails and all that.
For me, it's the editing.
Editing,
Yeah.
that'll get you.
Yeah, editing will get you.
Well,
But
and
then learning to shoot without having to edit helps.
so
Do minimal edit.
turnaround times though now, feel like the standard is broken for what is quality and what is not quality, and in a lot of aspects. With what you do, it's a very clear line. Like your stuff is so crisp and like I don't know what the words I'm bad at describing. Editorial? No, it's not. Crisp. It's really clean and really pretty, and so like there's an obvious quality difference, but the general standard, I think, with photography, like people keep pumping things through like programs like Aftershoot to like auto edit.
I've never heard of Aftershoot. What is Aftershoot?
Aftershoot is a program where it pulls and even edits images based on like styles that you.
How could you trust anything like that?
I was.
If you care about your work, how can you trust something like
A lot
that?
of people don't really care about their work.
Well,
I
yeah,
guess.
so this is for like the Craigslist wedding photographers who are just like, okay, like shoot this wedding, like run it through after shoot, call it a day.
Could you imagine paying a photographer to photograph your wedding, and that photographer uses some program to choose which photos to come out?
Basically,
It is AI, and the human element is fading. So, but luckily, yeah, we will always have that security. But like, still, in competing with all these other elements and trying to like, uphold a standard that we have, like high quality, and the work that we want, it's really hard to compete, and that causes the burnout for me. And that element has made photography at times really, really not fun. And before establishing a sense of community in photography, I almost stopped. Like I almost stopped photography altogether. I was considering doing I'm done. I just need to make money. Apparently, this is the world. Like I'll get into real estate or whatever. Something I did not want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't get burnt out like too often, but okay. So I want to say it was last year when I lost like one really big client that I was shooting landscapes for. That was kind of a like, is this for fun or is this, for work kind of decision? I was like, am I going to keep shooting landscapes? Do I need to start shooting something else?
Yeah.
So like that thought of like, I guess like a more rational decision, that kind of came into play.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't stop shooting landscapes.
Yeah. No.
But
Your work is beautiful.
oh, thank you. I feel like that question is on every full-time photographer's mind is like, is this for fun or is this for work?
Yeah.
And it's like every photographer wants to just shoot for fun, because what you're shooting for work isn't always necessarily what you like to shoot,
Yeah.
Not always.
Not always.
But it's possible to enjoy work.
Yeah.
Enjoy, find the clients that allow you to make what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
And
maybe the question is like, is the pursuit of some subject matter. Is that for work or for fun? Because like with landscapes, obviously you love to do it, you love to travel.
It's all fun.
It's all fun. And even if you were to land the clients to do that kind of work, it'd still be fun. You're like, I get to go play outside.
It'd be amazing.
That's super sick.
It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't that blows, but
the nerve.
Well, the company went under, so
that's fair.
Everyone else
like, okay, pay me out of pocket.
How dare they?
Everyone went out of work.
Dude, but yeah, like I don't know, every time there's something new that I want to do, like because I'm dubbing it no niche photographer, because they're like, you should niche, and I'm like, I don't want to, because I want to learn from the different things, right?
I feel like you should be kind of a jack of all trades, but like you should pick like maybe 3 or 4 sections.
Your shit, right?
Yeah.
But then like still explore.
Yeah. So like for me, it's landscapes, portraits, corporate.
Landscapes, portrait, corporate.
Yeah.
What's my 3? Okay, hold on. Wait.
Yeah.
So
like obviously like corporate is just for the paycheck.
Yeah. Yes. You don't love doing corporate headshots? It's not exciting and fun?
Not really, because when you do corporate headshots, those people don't really want to be there. There's like a select few that are like excited to actually be there. But most people are like, all right, let's get this over with.
They just come in like,
but that's easy.
It's easy.
Get in, get it done.
Because they want to be out. So it's not like it's going to continue.
I enjoy that kind of client, honestly.
They don't even care what their picture looks like most of the time anyways.
Still a client though.
Still a client. But the way I look at it now, in the beginning, I was really like stubborn about it, and I was like, no, I'm like this is what I do, and this is only what I do, and I was saying no to like a lot of potentially good clients.
I'll take money for anything.
Right? I'm like, I'm a landscape photographer, I'm not shooting corporate headshots.
I told you the calls are the people, or like the person that just wanted their close-up macro taint shot. And I took that. I was like, yes, absolutely, I'll take that.
What?
They wanted a mantelpiece picture of their this is getting fun. They're just hold, the bottom portion of their, between where their thighs are.
I love that.
Just like a close up. And they called me from Craigslist, and I was like, yes, obviously. And then they got kind of nervous and backed out. So I was like, was this a prank call? Because I'll fucking do it. Money. Just don't fart on me, please.
Yeah, but now the way I look at it is like, okay, I have my work things, and like when I go to work, that's that thing, and then I have my things like for fun, like my landscapes and my like, creative portraits. So my website isn't very appealing to a corporate client per se, but they still hire me.
Yeah.
For some reason, because I think it's like this, like the skill behind it, like the technical skill.
So
and when they see that, they're like, oh, this guy can do anything.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why everybody should still shoot their own stuff for fun, is because like you learn from it, number one.
Yeah.
And you have to keep outdoing yourself.
Well, and when you keep shooting what you love for fun, you're still creating work in that genre, and there are going to be people who see that and want you to do that for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to lead to work.
Well, and that's where I'm like, okay, so I think this is the perfect topic to bring it up. It's like, people say all the time, like, you have to be very specific in your niche.
I feel like it used to be like that. Not so much.
I think social media kind of built that out. And then like, even you were saying earlier, Dan, about like, you have your portraits, but you're like, I want to do more family sessions. You're really good at them.
Yeah. But to me,
I have to make a whole separate Instagram for them.
Yeah.
But if you're,
to me, that's all the same niche. It's people.
But then
family portrait's still a portrait.
It's a lot of work to then have different accounts for it, right? So this is also why websites are really important.
Yeah.
But then you still have that stressful aspect where it comes down to like, oh, is someone going to see this and not like that I do that more than they like the fact I do this? Like, they're not dedicated enough to corporate headshots, or it's not a professional site because there's creative. So for example, for me, I'm super afraid to bring like certain clients to my site, because I have like one of my galleries happens to be like a nude and nature thing, which is non-provocative. It's very artistic. And that's the intention. But like, if someone's coming to the site for family pictures or like senior portraits or something, like, I don't want them to run into that, because it's like, are they going to, there's nudity, so they get the wrong idea about it. But of course, like, you can combat that with like And on my page, it's like I have you have to go through a portal. It's like, hey, this is for people who are over 18, whatever. But and then with weddings too, like I have dark, edgy, like creepy photo shoots on my one site. And so I had to make a whole separate name and identity, wedding photographer guy, to put my weddings on. It's a whole different site, it's a different work. And then that just kind of is another addition to like burning yourself out, like two sites.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like when you have like too many things going on.
Yeah.
And trying to like market to the right audience. So it's like, even if you just have one website and you have all these like separate sections. I mean, I've never tried to book a family session before.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine it'd be a little weird if, you know, you have on one section of your website like families and portraits, and then, you know, like really insane, like dark creative stuff like on another section, you know, like
So
they might get the wrong idea about it.
and the question is like, okay, so it's like, is it weird because they're there, like mixed together, or like not separate? What am I trying to say? So is it weird, or is it that people don't have the attention span? Because in the end, people say it's not good, right? Because they look at insights and say it's not turning into conversions. But is that really because it's mixed together, or is that just because they came there, they didn't get it, and they leave? So you can still mix everything on a site and then funnel people to the right places. If you do the right,
maybe it's just like a branding thing.
I think it's just the process. But over time, I think people started to believe, no, you have to be just this kind of person, and there's no way.
You know what somebody told me recently? They said I had too many pictures on my website. They were like, I was just on there. The guy was like, I was on your website for too long. He's like, I just kept going like photo to photo to photo. He's like, it never ended. He's like, you have too many like good photos on your website. I'm like, what does that mean?
As someone who's like, you know, and you have a lot to be proud of too. And
right,
like with my site,
those photos cost a lot of money to make.
Yeah, I was told the same thing though. You have too many pictures, and I'm like, okay, cool. Then what if someone wants to go through them all? Then like they can go through them all. My site,
no one's forcing them,
right?
See, the trick is to put all your best stuff at the top,
exactly,
and then like slowly put the not as great stuff towards the bottom.
They'll get bored when it's right. That's what I do.
Get bored. So put your top stuff.
I mean, I would rather only put my best.
Yeah, of course.
There.
Yeah.
And then not put the, I mean,
yeah.
But then you have to make those decisions because there's so much variety. It's like, is this
tough?
Best or
it is tough,
but you gotta be.
This is okay. Definitely on par. Yeah. Because like, it's not fun to me. I'm a collector.
Yeah.
I started photography because when I was like younger, I was like obsessed with like collecting stuff, and it was like a problem.
You still are.
Hey, what do you mean, children?
Yeah, children, skulls,
garage sale find that you just showed us.
Yeah, we're actually in my
coffin
right now.
Basically. Okay, I like to collect stuff. But so when I was younger though, I loved to collect, but then when I put a camera in my hand, it was like a condensed, it's like zip file version of collection.
Yeah.
So I get to like go make these things and have this collection. So you know, my gallery is my collection. And then when it's like, you have to then turn that gallery into your work gallery and limit it. It's not fun. I hate that. I hate making decisions like that. What do I delete of the stuff that I love?
I mean, you can always ask me. I'll tell you what's good and what's not.
I know you will, but I'm afraid of that too. And I'll be like, well, I like this for this reason. But I think, yeah, there are some aspects to the work side, a lot of aspects to the work side of this whole mixing hobby and career thing that really like don't overlap well, and it sucks.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So, and then yeah, like for me, if I could take all the money that was being earned from photography and pump it into something that was like fun, right? I would be buying prints and enjoying my art.
Yeah.
But instead it's like, oh, I always have to focus on the next thing I have to buy, and it's not for me, it's for my clients essentially.
Yeah, for the business.
So
yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, I feel like no matter what you're shooting, it's still fun.
Yeah.
You know, like no matter what, like if you have a camera in your hand, like you're having fun.
Well, yeah. And in my experience, you know, I can be a very, sometimes shy, insecure, anxious,
Chihuahua.
All the words.
yeah, chihuahua. what's the word I'm looking for? Introvert.
Introvert.
But then
We're all introverted.
But then I pick up a camera and I feel like I become my best self. I become energized. I become social,
You're
loud,
confident,
a little bit of an attention seeker sometimes. But it's like a switch.
Yeah.
And all the energy comes to me, the passion, the reminder of why I do it. I mean, granted, the next day I'm beat.
Right.
And going to be just fully drained.
Be away from everyone for a little while.
Yeah, or I could be manic for a couple days after and not sleep, but I'll get a lot done.
Yeah. Exactly.
Your camera is your power, though. I've seen
Yeah.
that that switch does come on.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I've seen it. The attention pot mainly.
I get a little bit of attention.
No, it's because you're really good at what you do, and it is.
Well, it's less of that and more of I love it. I have fun. I never want to stop doing it. And one thing, there have been times where I've questioned whether I want to keep going. And usually to me that's the result of depression or sometimes, the hopelessness of are the clients going to keep coming?
Yeah.
Is the work going to keep coming?
Well,
I do love the work too.
Yeah.
But, the only way that I'll ever reach any goal of mine is if I keep at it.
Yeah.
The one death of a creative is giving up.
Yeah.
And that's something I refuse to do.
In that same regard too, I feel like complacency and complacency is the death of mastery. So giving up alongside like getting too comfortable in the niche. That's why
That's thinking you don't need any improvement.
Yeah. And so this is why I think it's also really important to try different styles of your art and get out there instead of just getting like stuck in the one.
Yeah.
But so having an art, doing photography as an art, but also if you're doing it for work, doing different styles of things, like shooting weddings, and then I go shoot concerts, but I take what I learned doing that low light concert back to the wedding and like applying that, and then trying something new with lighting at a wedding that I then take to a creative shoot, and like all these things overlap and can really help.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, especially like when I was starting early on, was never afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Right. So everything I did was just for fun. There was no client in mind, like ever.
Yeah. Because if you fail anyone, it's just you and you go, man, that sucked. Try again.
Yeah. And, there was no social media at the time when I started, which was probably a good thing.
Social media.
How old are you? Like 60?
31 next month.
Dude, MySpace.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't what it is.
It wasn't what it is now. Like it was Flickr and 500px. That's what we had.
Yeah.
But I mean, I started in 2012, January 2012.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was like pre-MySpace, or no, not pre-MySpace, pre-Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you wanted to learn photography, you had to go to the bookstore and buy a book and like learn it that way, or like read somebody's photo blog about how they went out and shot the Milky Way that weekend,
or get out there and
or get out and like experiment yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you and I are from California.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, if you wanted to shoot the Milky Way, you had to drive to Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I had to drive. I don't know where you had to drive.
Death Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. Death Valley,
Which is really great for the Milky Way.
Which it is. It's certified dark sky area.
It's insanely beautiful.
Yeah. It's awesome. I think that's one of like the good things, and how you can actually get better at it is by doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are so wrapped up in like being afraid to fail that they don't even try.
Well, too,
failure is where you learn.
Yeah, failure is where you learn. Exactly. You don't learn from the success.
And then too, some people that I've met only do photography for clients, like and when you do that, like you're not practicing elsewhere, and it's just like all under the pressure of the clients, like you're gonna end up only doing that one thing, right? You're not gonna sit there and mess around with a client shoot trying these new lighting. Oh, wow, this is way better than anything I've ever done. I'm happy I tried that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, a question that came to my mind was, so Armand, like since 2012, or when you started doing it professionally, like, was there any point where you experienced like severe burnout?
I don't think early on, it wasn't until probably recently that I would even like consider anything to be burnout,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I get a little burnt on shooting landscapes because sometimes I just go to the same places over and over.
Yeah.
So that can get a little boring.
Well, you gotta go far for that, and that takes
Yeah, I mean that's the hard thing about the landscape genre is like if you want to keep topping yourself, you have to keep going to new places.
Yeah.
Or you have to do longer hikes or harder hikes or literally climb bigger mountains.
Well, okay, so in cases where you've had like burnout or you felt done, like what's your cure? Like what do you do in those times? Like what would you recommend for someone else to do if they're like, I'm done with this?
If you're in like the burnout stage, I think you just have to force yourself to pick up the camera and love it again. Like literally force yourself to just like shoot. Don't wake up and be like, I don't feel like this, I'm burnt out, whatever, right?
So
You have to force yourself like David Goggins style.
Well, sometimes it's not always about photography. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's other passions.
Yeah.
For me, getting on a skateboard and
Yeah.
putting headphones on and just going,
finding what
and
grounds you.
that can be sometimes what I need to recharge. And then, when I'm out without the camera in hand, without that distraction, without that pressure, inspiration can find you.
Then you're like, I wish I had my camera on me.
Yeah.
See, for me, like living in Oregon, it's kind of seasonal here. So in the winter months, we don't really like shoot that much.
But I love the gloomy winter months.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's no leaves on the trees. It's kind of ugly outside.
It gets hard.
It gets hard. It's like raining.
If you're doing portraits
no
outside
fun.
too, you gotta like get someone to go out with you that's willing to like be in the freezing rain.
Someone willing to question their
But
choices.
then sometimes you have access to a big, fully equipped studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the winter months are good times to shoot in the studio or like try other
Cobalt Studios.
For
Cobalt
example,
Studios.
Cobalt Studios.
out
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Hey guys. Lots of lights, that's good stuff. Anyways, okay.
But yeah,
Equipped.
I think maybe that's like the answer is to just like take breaks if
So-
you can, unless you're
And-
like Michael and you're
Yeah.
literally dependent on shooting.
Making
You can't take breaks.
And feed your other passions.
Yeah, like you have to do other creative things.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like photography isn't my only creative outlet.
Yeah.
Like I play guitar, I'm into, cooking, like doing video, like just like other creative things. It can't just be always about photography. And like trying to shoot other genres too.
Yeah.
If I only shoot landscapes like every single day, like it's gonna get old.
Gonna get really
Yeah. So like I'll mix it up, like I'll shoot like creative portraits or do the boring corporate sessions or whatever it might be to
Sometimes I find the simple stuff really fun, especially if you're overworking the creative side and then you can kind of step it back to the basics with like shots or something. And then like for me, like I recently did a senior session and I hadn't been really advertising much for senior sessions and it was like out of the normal senior session range. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I had been working in the studio and practicing like new light and all this stuff. And I went outside with the student and we had no plan. It was like, okay, meet me at the studio and we're going to walk. Cause I don't like a plan. I'm not, even with professional stuff, most of what I do, I don't want a plan.
yeah.
Cause I don't feel like they always work or the light's not going to be what you expect. So we just walked downtown over here and it's like, there's some brick walls and, some industrial looks here and there. And, after all the practice that I had doing like the studio stuff inside, I took that out into the natural light and I had learned a lot just from seeing what I'd seen. And I was like doing something I've done forever outside the natural light stuff with this new, like such small differences in the way I looked at it, but it made such huge quality jump just shooting in natural light. I didn't put a flash on.
I love natural light.
But like it was only because I stepped away from doing those natural light looks and playing with the strobes and the studio lights and testing new random weird stuff and grids and modifiers and seeing where light was falling that I could go back out into the natural light, and I was looking at how the trees and the walls and everything was doing those similar things and like plug it all back together. And I was really proud of myself. But it's because I've been doing different things. So they really help each other. And I think the contrast of having art and work in the same world, you're going to grow. Like, I don't think you should. And I think if you're an artist, I'm not saying like that you don't want to do the creatives or the paid side of things. Like if you're just doing photography as an artist, I would still recommend doing projects that you're not completely curating and trying random stuff, because it's going to come back into your art. Like trying something you wouldn't typically do. Like if you're a dark photographer, go do like a very
like photography,
yeah, or something, or like bright lifestyle photography,
or surround yourself with other creatives who don't have your exact vision and find inspiration there.
I mean, I've learned so much from the community, like, and just like being around you guys, like everyone, and learning from people who are way better than me, learning from people that are way newer than me, and seeing what they're doing like wrong and helping them reset it at workshops and stuff like that. Yeah, I've never grown faster until I was around other people, and that's actually what I was going to say. For me, like I said earlier, I was so burnt out for so long. And then being in this space, our daily bills are like almost $400 per day that we have to make to stay alive. And so I don't really get the opportunity to stop working, but like surrounding myself with other creatives and community and people have really made the art more fun. Because like just comparing yourself to others on social media or online is hell. It's torture, because they're gonna pump out who's most popular in front of you, and you're gonna see all these people with like 10,000 likes, 50,000 likes on Instagram, and then you're gonna be like, I just suck, I should stop. But then when you get to go and shoot alongside people and you start to see the quality of the work, not the numbers, and then you're like, damn, you're at the same level, man. I got this. I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like comparison on social media, I've never compared myself to anyone. I just look at it as like, oh, they did it like this, like I can learn from that.
Yeah, and that's healthy.
And I know I can shoot it better than them.
Oh, Armand.
So that's how you should look at it, is like, oh, this guy did it like this, I can top them.
I feel that. And so I was talking earlier about this, I think with James, we'll see in a minute. But I was saying like, I love now, like when I was a little bit younger, I would see other people's work and it's all right. So now I'm like, damn, this is really good. I want to meet this person. I want to shoot with this person. I don't care if they're older than me or younger than me. A lot of like younger people have that like super creative spark because they haven't had been dragged through the mud by a million client sessions yet, and they're just coming into it, not giving a shit, doing their whatever they want. I'm like, okay, there's a lot to learn here. There's a lot to learn from the like veteran pros. So like definitely try not to be envious. And
like, there's no reason to be envious of like other photographers. Like just go shoot it yourself.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can.
I say the biggest compliment, the title I use is port envy. So when Rose does a session with like another photographer and I see the works come back and I'm looking through her gallery and I'll get all quiet for a second, I'm like, port envy, respect, these are really good.
I do get a little jealous sometimes when other photographers
I know you do,
with my favorite models or
my favorite.
Why aren't they shooting with me?
I love when David comes in. I'm calling you out, David. What's up? when David Bliss comes in, and he'll always be like, "Look at this shot I got. It's like, beat that, like top that." And then I'll take a couple, and I'll see him get all like, I'm like, "Oh, that means I'm doing good."
Yeah.
So, but to the cure for burnout for me definitely has been surrounding myself and making the art community, making it real, tangible, right there. It's not just getting like, I'm not getting spoon fed the best pieces of someone's work. I'm seeing like real time images that people are creating. I'm like, let me see what you're getting. Here's what I'm getting.
Well, you being a studio owner,
it's convenient.
It really helps with that. You're always kind of getting to see people at work.
And I want that to be for more people. I feel really humbled that I get to be in that position. And that's why I'm sad there's not more like photo community out there.
Yeah.
So for people not around here too, like just get people together and go shoot and see what they're making.
Well,
right?
you definitely nourish a community aspect here. You bring people in, and I think people learn.
Well, I think the main reason that we're so adamant about doing that too is because I know that was my cure for burnout, like, and having a sense of like people with a common interest. It's like a lot of people don't understand that go to work, even like at just like normal 9 to 5s. They take a lot of it for granted, just like photographers take a lot of the crazy shit we do for granted, because we complain sometimes about the places we go or the things we do or the process. But just like people complain about maybe their 9 to 5 job, there's a huge aspect that they have that we don't have, which is coworkers and a sense of community.
Well, and consistency.
And consistency, stability. Start talking
That's really the main thing.
I was like, wait, yeah, that's way better.
Well,
For everyone, I need money.
that's something I've been thinking about recently too, is like we get to live the dream job, right? We get to be creative, we get to travel cool places,
But it's
and shoot photos.
But it's a
and all
dream
this.
when it's actually like when those moments come to fruition, when that project is happening.
Yeah, it's not always, rocket launches and for NASA and, cool stuff like that. Sometimes it's like a boring family session.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to take the good with the bad.
Also, sometimes it's a really fun family session.
Yeah, sometimes it's really fun. And, after I shot the NASA rocket launch thing, a lot of people were giving me some flack for that. But like in my mind, I'm like, dude, it's just another day at work.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like totally awesome.
No, cool.
Yeah, but it's like a job is a job,
Yeah.
It's like I just chose to do this for work. And another thing is that if you stick with something long enough, you'll eventually end up there too.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like this is kind of where like the fun versus business thing comes in, is that people that have been doing, and I've noticed this, is that people that have been doing photography for a long time, when they kind of like hit their 30s, they all start to taper off. And we're seeing a lot less people like out there shooting.
Mhm.
So if you can like keep with it and keep it going, you'll eventually be shooting rockets too.
Of the people with that
Or something similar.
of the people with that experience level, there's just far less to choose from, right?
Yeah, because like these companies and brands that are looking, to hire people, they want the quality, they want the experience, they want the technical capability, they want to know that like when you're there, you're gonna like perform. And if you've been doing it forever, you're gonna be that person.
So what happens if the aisle of art that you fall down, or like what about all those people that are doing photography, but maybe they got caught up in a type of photography they don't really like?
You just have to pivot. Yeah, just pivot. Spend the time, make the portfolio. That's what I did. I started shooting portraits because I was like, I don't think landscape is going to pay the bills. I mean, it did for a little bit, but it's not always going to pay the bills. So, I had to pivot to something else.
The bill's getting greater and greater too. Like,
yeah. Like as you get older, the bills get greater.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is really expensive right now too, just in general.
And people like in the art industry too, they're not always looking to pay you a big dollar unless you're doing some specific service like weddings or, the big ones that make money besides corporate, like the lifestyle, boudoir, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a rough one.
It is, in fact, a tough one.
It is. Well,
You guys are boring. Jeez. Now that I think about it, there has been one time that I've experienced burnout. And
Okay.
the funny thing about that was when I had a regular job at a photo studio called The Picture People in the Vancouver Mall. I'd go in every day and do the same thing in this tiny little studio with lighting that you couldn't change. You couldn't really be very creative with it.
Burnt out just hearing that.
Burn out thinking about it. But I did make really good friends and my coworkers there.
That's good.
So now imagine getting to move the lights around and have people around.
Oh yeah.
Love you
yeah.
guys.
It's a lot better.
I think for me, my biggest thing with burnout was when I was like really heavy into weddings, and like all I could focus on was doing weddings.
I don't blame you though, because weddings can pay really, really well.
They pay really
a
well.
good
Honestly,
paycheck can be addictive.
I love my girls, but the problem was at the time I had all this wedding work, but I had just moved to Oregon and I didn't know anyone here yet. I didn't know any photo community. I had just my family at the time, my ex, and then I had two boys.
When did you move to Oregon?
2017, 18, somewhere around there. Yeah. 18? I think, I don't know, somewhere. But when I got here, it was like the first couple of years, I felt very isolated and alone. And I think if I would have just had people that I could talk to about the craft and expand and go upon that, like, oh, hey, I did this shoot. Here's something about it. And they would have been like, oh my God, I had this experience too. I would have never even got close to the point where I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like we do the Darkhive like group meetup things.
Yeah.
And like I'll see people's photos from there and I'm like, how did you get that?
Dude,
because like this, like the scene doesn't look anything like that.
I'm an ass in my head, and I think some people just aren't like, we're too afraid to like be like that's bad or that's good. But in my head, sometimes I'm like, could have been better, could have been better, could have been better. And then I come across that one, and I'm just like, there. Were they standing? Okay. Oh well, yeah. The light came through perfect at that time. How'd I miss that?
No, it's
how'd I miss that?
You can make any light work. It's all about how you see
I can think of an image you did of Rose, and I saw it, and I was like, that bitch.
Like we went and photographed at that vineyard.
Yeah.
And people were shooting a lot of scenes, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to get a good photo of this. And they got some pretty awesome photos.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best too, when you're like, oh, you're shooting like into that. That's not.
Yeah.
When you're like,
no way.
You don't see what I see.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
That's the thing is like
it's all about vision.
Yeah. It's about the vision and, maybe the camera's seeing something that I don't,
But that's what's going to grab your interest back too. Because after if you shoot alone for so long, you start to think you know everything.
Yeah.
That's that complacency too. And you're like,
and when you think you know everything, you stop learning.
It's boring.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you're done. Then you're done.
Stop getting better.
So surround yourself with people who do it differently or do the same stuff, but compete. Healthy competition is very, very
People
very
who are
good.
better at it than you. And that's not me saying. Like I surround myself with people who inspire me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For example.
What's up? I just want to, and like for me, it doesn't matter the experience level for the people that come into the community. What I look for more than anything is the ambition, because that ambition, it doesn't matter where they're at now. Like if I see someone who's not very good and they're ambitious, I watch that growth and I watch what changed. And I can look at like the similar patterns for my own work, right?
It's the ambition or the love of the craft, the love of being able to make something.
I think I put that together.
Yeah.
I helped.
No, I mean, I think I put those two terms together.
Yeah.
The love of the craft is ambition to me, but yeah.
Yep. We all love the craft.
Better.
Yeah, we better.
12
years later, better love it.
Just like, I don't know. I feel like random people on the street would be like, what are you guys even talking about?
I could talk about it for days until there's a camera on me about it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's like,
we'll work on
what do I say now?
We'll get you back in here. And two, I think with the growth of what we want to do with this community, we'll get used to the camera. But there's all we do when we come into this is talk about all these different subjects. And like, I think too, because a lot of us aren't used to being able to talk to it and people understand.
Yeah.
So, but I'm working on making it more fluid and discussing the issues and problems at hand or the ways we grow. So I'm saying.
Well, one of the biggest ways to grow is coming to an obstacle and overcoming it.
Yeah.
There could be a disaster in your career that,
Getting
becomes
$6,000 of equipment stolen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Out of my car. I cried.
Yeah.
I bawled.
I'll cry too.
Literally a week after moving to San Francisco. It was back in 2012. And at the time, I was obsessed with my speed lights and studio lights. And in my opinion, a lot of my work, when I look back on it, back then was very sterile. Having all of that stolen, I thought I would never recover from it, but I was able to afford an old original 5D and a 85 millimeter 1.8 lens and a reflector. And that's kind of how I discovered my passion and skill for natural light. And honestly, that's kind of what ended up really defining my style as a photographer, and what ended up really pulling me back in and really finding a passion for photography was overcoming that and realizing I was better off for it.
It's the perfect testament to, like, if you're starting to feel like, is this fun anymore? Am I like, is it done? Or like if something happens in your career that feels like it comes to a dead stop, like just don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't stop. And
or take a break.
Take a little break.
Take a little break. But, cultivate your other passions. Surround yourself with people who are still going to inspire you. Or, if you're into fashion photography, go get Vogue.
Yeah.
Put the media in front of you to inspire you and make you want to create something.
And get jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like that's good fuel. Get jealous.
Yeah.
Just wear it like a warm blanket.
I don't know about
get mad.
jealousy. More of motivated and inspired.
That's what I'm saying though. If you use those negative feelings, because I'll be honest, man. Sometimes I see it and I get jealous. I get that port envy, and I don't like those feelings. But instead of getting like, damn it, I suck, I'm like, okay, just wear it like a warm blanket, like a little weighted pad on my chest, and then think about that next time I'm going to shoot and do better.
So what do you guys think about current camera technology making everything so automated and easy?
I don't know how to use half of it.
Okay. Well,
I know.
I mean,
focus.
I mean, you're still on a DSLR.
Some of it is so innovative.
Yeah.
I use an old camera, but I've gotten to use it was Sony's A7. What is? I got to use one of the new Sony mirrorless where it has eye detection and the autofocus.
I have that, and maybe I'm just bad at it. I think it ruins, like when I'm in the moment and I'm trying to get like the bride and groom walking in the aisle, because that's obviously my main work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like grabbing other things. I'm like, put it back into single point, like, because that's what so that's
Could be what you're used to.
my complacency.
See, that's another part of like, is photography like fun anymore? Is that everything is so automated and easy now? Because like back in the day, like I think on the original 5D, or it might even be the 5D Mark III, there's like 13 focus points, something crazy, something really small like that.
If I remember correctly, I shot with an original 5D.
Yeah, it's like 9 focus points.
2000 and I want to say 10 until 2022.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lot.
It's not a
There's
lot.
a lot to be desired, but the thing is it doesn't matter.
I still see center
Yeah.
I think it's 12 focus points, something like that. I could be wrong. Please don't
Google it.
Yeah,
Figure it out for
that.
yourself.
But the thing is you can make it work.
Yeah,
you can make it work.
You just have to master the tools that you have.
For real. It's like with mine, I have the Canon R5, and I don't know how many focus points it has, but I literally put it back into single point. And this is not saying stay complacent. I should learn how to use
That's what works for you.
But I'm so used to it. And in my mode when I'm shooting, I've tried the other settings, but like I know what won't fail me is if I just like get my subject in the center, get it focused and put it back, and that's my motion, that's my move.
Yeah, see, that's like the focus and recompose. That's like I'm using a DSLR.
I won't do that. I'll get the focus point as close to what I need.
Well, sometimes I'll
and then I'll recompose a little bit.
See, that's the thing. That's because you're on the 5D, but that's like what made photography fun back in the day was like all these like little nuances like that. I'm shooting on the A1. It's got like almost 800 focus points.
What do you want me to shoot?
Yeah, and it's a stacked sensor, and it's like 30 frames a second, like no blackout. Like you can literally shoot anything with it.
Yeah. I'll
like
preach,
it's insane.
I'll preach on and on about you don't need the newest technology.
You don't.
That being said,
Makes it easy.
This technology can help you make a better image if you know what you're doing. You know, it is all about, you know, the photographer, the person using the tool.
Exactly.
But these innovations in technology do help.
Yeah.
But you don't need it. You
But
know, a new photographer can come into this and buy an original 5D for less than $200 now.
Yeah, I think
pretty
we
crazy.
I think for any creatives that are coming onto the scene, don't think you need the new stuff. 'Cause
No,
that's
you don't.
not what the people that you're inspired by started with at all.
And it does help to kind of know where things come from to get to where they're at.
Yeah.
Like Rose right now, she really wants to learn photography, and there's like a femme shoot film group that's starting up in Portland, and so she wants to go to those and shoot film, and she's like, I think that's the perfect way to like transition. And I'm like, you don't necessarily need to shoot on film. If you do, you're going to get it all, but you could just start on, you know, we have a 5D Mark III upstairs. My boys use all the time is my old wedding camera.
That's literally what I use
right here.
And I am in love with this camera.
If I didn't have some sensor problems with it or like spots, I would use it all the time.
After shooting with an original 5D for over 10 years, upgrading to this was like I'm still just flabbergasted by it. Right. And this is how old of a camera now? 12 years?
Something like that. But literally they're dirt cheap.
Less
so cheap.
I think a low shutter count one on whatever used camera site you can get it on, like less than 100,000 actuations, is probably going to run you $400 or $500 for one of these, and that's amazing. You can also get a 5D Mark II for $250, even with a low shutter actuation count. And in my opinion, the Mark II really does render a beautiful, unique image.
Yeah.
But
I love the Mark II.
Yeah.
I feel like not much like image quality wise has really changed from the Mark III to the R5.
Honestly, like shooting side by side, I know that
besides the megapixels, of course.
Yeah, my file sizes are larger, and I can. But like, I also can't say much because I switched at the same time period where I really started shooting with strobes. So when I think about it, like, it feels the same shooting in natural light, and then when I come in here, I haven't really used mine. I feel like I'm getting the crispiest stuff I ever got, but it's not thanks to the R5. It's thanks to strobes.
Yeah.
And exploring that
and because you can get crispy images in natural light.
Knowing how to balance things out the right way and keeping your ISO down out in natural light.
See, I noticed a huge quality jump when I switched from Canon to Sony. Just saying.
Oh no, not your Sony plug.
Sony plug.
I know you're with this is dangerous waters here.
Dangerous waters. Maybe that's another podcast where we just talk about gear.
Talk crap about each other. We got no one to defend for Nikon that I know. Honestly, who wants to come and talk for Nikon?
You know what? Honestly, I would shoot Nikon over Canon.
Okay.
100%.
You know what the door is. I was kidding. I would shoot with anything, to be honest. I feel humbled to be able to carry an R5 around or any of the.
But did you see the Nikon Z6 III announcement with the 6K 60 frames a second internal RAW?
I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but I definitely heard.
Internal RAW and a mirrorless body
internal RAW
video.
Oh, okay.
That's a world first.
You're gonna have to teach us because I don't know tech terms, man. I am
imagine shooting JPEG versus RAW.
Yeah, okay.
That's
different. It was shooting not that format for video before.
Yeah, like none of these cameras, like the A1 or the A7 R5 or even your R5.
How big of a file would that be?
Pretty big.
That's gross.
See that speaking on video file or not video file size, when you mentioned, the megapixels, one thing that I really miss about the original 5D. This is a 12 megapixel camera. Those files, it took ages to fill up a hard drive. And
you're right.
And if you talk about the money being a cause of burnout, too, when you're taking such bulk amounts of images or video, and it's just like you constantly have to buy new storage
or delete old photos. And how hard is that?
I don't delete photos.
Rarely do that. Well,
No deleting.
No deleting ever.
Sometimes I do.
Okay.
Only if it's like blurry and like out of focus, 100% unusable, I'll delete it.
I used to keep all my raws too.
I
then
keep all of my RAWs.
I
I
finally-
don't delete a single.
You know what? I need to stop
God.
hoarding. We need to
I burn all
stop
raws.
hoarding image files. Because
Yeah.
what's the point?
See the collector. I thought I'd be the hoarder, but I finally
expensive.
deleted the raws. At least I have the edited files, but weddings that were like over however many years from. So I started my career in 2016,
Mhm.
and so I think like everything before 2020, all the raws. I want this hard drive back or whatever it was, and I
Yeah.
just hard drives is yeah
Honestly, the cure to that is just keep buying hard drives.
yeah just stack them somewhere.
Well,
else.
like
I made of money.
I know,
And
but
the reason I'm shooting on a 12-year-old camera.
Then again, to be fair, we're talking about certain expenses and like, oh, we have to buy constant lights or
yeah.
like all these different things. Hard drives these days for
See, but I use spinning drives. I don't use SSDs.
yeah. If you're using a
I don't trust
hard
that.
drive, an HHD, then literally they're so cheap now.
There's
and you were saying this earlier
like
upstairs.
20 terabytes for $300.
Yeah, so just honestly, just
That used to be like $1,000.
yeah, dump
It's
all your
crazy.
files, duplicate them in a RAID on 2 of those, and
Yeah, like you're good to go. Like it's cheap and it's just as fast as an SSD.
but it's still money, and
It's still money.
still money.
All right, I think we are going to call it there.
Pretty good.
Any final words? Anything you want to add?
I'm happy. No, it's for me the biggest thing was just find community. Like
Yeah.
that's the cure to that burnout feeling in my opinion. But just
Yeah.
keep hustling and find community.
So I think the consensus is yes, photography is still fun.
It's still fun.
It's still fun.
It's still fun. I'll never stop doing it.
Never.
Yep.
Never ever. Till you
Oh,
can't
no.
do it anymore. Photography for life. Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Uh-huh. All right.
Yep. Subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Give us a follow and 5 stars on Spotify.
Thank you.
Come into Apple Podcasts pretty soon.
Too soon.
And we will see you all in the next one.
See you out there.
Thanks for listening.
That's all.